Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
people who left their partner the day of the wedding. What happened? My cousin's backyard shotgun wedding. She changed her mind because they got in a fight that morning. My uncle still made barbecue and it just turned into a typical family hangout. They got married the next weekend anyway. Not a very exciting story. They are still married like 22 years and 3 kids later though, so that's something. That worked out surprisingly well, rolling on the floor laughing. Still married doesn't mean happily, haha. Knew someone who got married, then moved into her parents' basement. A couple of days later, her dad heard, through the floorboards, his new son-in-law abusing his daughter. He promptly kicked him out and annulled the marriage. Fuck yes. This is why it's much better for societies to have the tradition that men marry into the bride's family, rather than marrying off the bride to his family where she is vulnerable to mistreatment. I never thought of it that way, but yes, I agree with that. Good parenting. What restraint he had. If I'd heard someone abusing my child through the floorboards, I'd be tempted to annul far more than just the marriage. We called it the non-wedding. It was a very small backyard, and when we showed up, a relative of the groom ushered us out back and whispered that the wedding was off, but they had all this food and to help ourselves. Apparently just that morning the groom found out that the bride banged the stripper at her bachelorette party, but his family said they'd already spent all the money on the party, so they'd just tell people when they arrived. It was one of the most awkward experiences of my life because the groom just sat dejectedly in a chair while people tried to cheer him up. We ate a little out of obligation and then got the hell out of there. I once worked at a hotel where a wedding was cancelled just a few hours before it was supposed to happen. The only information we got was the manager telling us that the father of the bride let him know that it was off, but only said, "There's no way she's marrying that fucking son of a bitch." We guessed it was a bachelor party incident but never found out for sure. Friendly manager, pouring just a little tea into your sauces like that. A colleague of my husband's texted him about a week before the wedding saying something cryptic like, "If I'm in Key West on Friday, the wedding isn't happening," so he was clearly having thoughts prior to. But social media showed that the rehearsal dinner happened the night before the wedding and he was there, so we figured he had gotten over it. We had family in town and weren't planning to attend the wedding anyway, but my husband texted a congratulatory message later on the day of. Guy replied from Key West. He did not show for the ceremony. His excuse was that she wouldn't sign the prenup. The reality was that he was already seeing someone else. Love that they tried to use a reasonable excuse, but it was false. Knew a girl who told us she was having second thoughts because of lack of passion and she called it off. I was actually super proud cause she was brave enough to do it before and not fake it. Very real of her. Turned out she had been cheating on him for a while, with multiple people, and cheated on her next partner too. Classy. I've always found that lack of passion frequently translates to, I found someone else I want to be passionate with. It was my sister and it wasn't the day of the wedding, but, on the honeymoon cruise she found his heroin fentanyl shoot-up kit. Needles, dope, all that shit. I would say no way she didn't know, but I've been there. My stepbrother was the picture of health. We were on a family weekend and I found his kit hidden in the closet while looking for something. Dude, I came home from work in NYC to find my roommate barely breathing, cold as ice with blue lips, and a needle hanging out of his arm. I had literally zero idea he was doing that shit until I had to call 911 to save his life. He's now like 10 years sober and very happy and successful, but you really do never know sometimes. She did not and was completely shocked. She did know he used prescription pills sometimes, but that more normal. It was a rather rushed wedding as she had gotten pregnant, so she had only known him less than a year. After a while she took him back for the baby and he promised to quit using, but predictably that didn't happen. Then he got really bad. Yeah, a friend of mine was happy and healthy with a beautiful wife and 3 kids. Then just one day, she woke up and he was dead of an overdose. No one even knew he was using. My friend did this like 20-some years ago. She was engaged to a guy from a very well-off family. The wedding was in California but they were living in Seattle. Very posh, very expensive. But the mill was always a bitch to her. Right at the beginning of the reception the mill came up and said some nasty things to her in whisper, thinking she would just take it again. She lost it, families got involved, and she ended up on a plane back to the PNW that night. Her family had already started moving her things out of the apartment that evening. Never spoke to him again. Good for her. You know that was very hard to do and she might even question it sometimes, so yeah, definitely good for her. That couldn't have been easy. My cousin Shay did this. There was a sitting area out of the way, out of sight behind a grove of trees at the wedding venue. Her and the bridal party and photographer decided to take the stone path that led behind and around it for some pretty photos. They all walked around the corner to the groom getting a BJ from the best man right as he popped off grimace. They didn't notice the group of people standing there in shocked horror because they were a ways down. She kicked him and his family, friends out and we still had a party afterwards. She met her now husband at the reception. He was the DJ tears of joy. According to him, sex at weddings where the person isn't the future spouse is more common than people realize. Grimace. Edit, spelling. I hope the photographer got the picture. Wow, what a shot. Good picture, too. Quote, the money shot. Who among us has a best man good enough to calm our wedding day jitters like that? They probably said, no homo, and everything afterward, so what's the big deal? Likely said, bro, a good 3 or 4 times as well. But it's a quick vacation baby, nothing serious. Oh no way, not a happily ever after but definitely a happy ending. This happened to a friend. He found out she was cheating on him, and still was on the morning of the wedding. That's when he found them together in a separate room for the wedding party. I chime in, haven't you people ever heard of closing the goddamn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of poise and rationality. A friend of mine went to a co-worker's wedding and it was very similar. The groom was a little late to the wedding portion and had got dropped off right at the church steps. They go through with the wedding for some reason and then everyone goes to the reception next door. About 5 minutes into the reception the bride and groom are just screaming at each other. A big blow up. A lot of, well you cheated on me with so and so, yeah. But I only cheated with so and so because you cheated on me with a different so and so, etc. with the final line being, but, I can't believe you had so and so drop you off at my wedding. Which is when the guests start to piece it together that Buddy was late to his wedding because he was with the girl he was cheating with and she had dropped him off at the wedding late because they were busy fucking at her place beforehand. So the reception abruptly ends. The new bride gets taken away by the best man, who my friend found out later was one of the multiple guys she had cheated on her new husband with. And the groom storms away to be picked up by the girl he was cheating with. Like, what in the ever-loving fuck were they doing even going through with any of this? So there my friend was with his +1 at a wedding reception with no bride and no groom. The food hadn't even been brought out yet. No one knew what to do so they just sort of sat there and had an awkward dinner party. 4 to 6 months later they were back together apparently. They belonged together. Like you can't even stay away for one day. I'm glad they got caught. How was the fallout? Some people get off on the thrill of the danger behind the cheating. I would guess it's not a matter of not being able to stay away and more like they got off extra hard to that scenario. My sister-in-law called off her wedding 1.5 months out because she was going through a deep depression. It was so tough, but her fiancé understood that it wasn't because she didn't want to marry him, it's that she couldn't find any joy in life at that stage and it was the wrong time to get married. They're still together and have 2 kids now and are very content with life. I wish my husband had done that. He was so depressed at the time that I truly felt like I was dragging him to the altar, but any time I asked he assured me he still wanted to. Obviously, I'm glad we're married, but I would have liked the wedding more if I felt like he was present. It just felt like I was marrying a shell of a human at the time. Thankfully he's developed some better coping mechanisms and has been doing really, really great. Maybe renewing the vows might give you some closure. At least that's what I thought whilst reading your CV comment. I have a worse version of this, had a family member get married, and they got pregnant afterwards. Seemed all good. The day of the birth, the dude decided he didn't want to be a father and left to never be seen again. Never even saw the kid. These stories are wild. A guy the first dated in HS got one of my friends pregnant so he invited her to my house to convince her to have an abortion. Because I was a young mom he thought it'd be best for me to tell her she was making a mistake. She had the kid and he literally disappeared. No one has seen him, heard from him, no social media, no Google searches. It's so frickin' weird. Gone. I wonder where he is sometimes. No one has seen him, heard from him, no social media, no Google searches. It's so frickin' weird. Gone. I wonder where he is sometimes. Whatever you do, don't ask your friend why her sunflowers grow so well. She should submit a DNA test of their to Ancestry and actually all the databases, as this will eventually flush him out, and then file for child support. It's so fucking frustrating reading comments about single moms on Reddit that are all, it's not that I don't like kids, it's that if she's a single mom it means she obviously makes bad choices. Question mark. Sometimes you end up a single mom after waiting until marriage with the only guy you've ever been with, and you're still left a single mom completely out of your control. My boyfriend's dad convinced his mom to have kids. She had never been with anyone else before. They didn't sleep together until after they were married. They dated for years. He was a good guy with a degree and job and a house. She had her first child that he wanted, he panicked and left. Like, what in the world else was she supposed to do or look out for? Edit. The frustrating end to that story is that she never dated again, never remarried, just worked and took care of her kids. She was pregnant with their second child when he took off. He went on to remarry 2 more times, had more kids that he never had full custody of, and claims everything worked out in the end. Yeah, for you. This is why we should stop saying children of single mothers and start saying children of absentee fathers. Absentee father isn't the only situation in which one may become a single mother. Maybe the father died. Maybe the mother wanted a kid and didn't want a partner. Maybe the mother adopted a relative who would have disappeared into foster care otherwise. The real answer is to stop attaching a moral judgment to the term single mother.